Hi there, my name's Ed, I'm a tea head, and today we're back trying some tea. Now today we have, I love this name, we have Grandpa's tea, but it's in a ball, so we have Grandpa's balls to try today. This is a tea from White2, there's a 2 there, White2Tea. Yeah, so here we go. I've had a comment on my videos telling me that I shouldn't touch the tea with my fingers. Apparently that's against the gong fu ceremony etiquette, the rules, because we have oils on our fingers and whatever else. And I have just very clearly disregarded that rule. So sorry to that person, and well, to anyone who respects the gong fu ceremony tradition fully. There we go. So obviously this is in a ball, so it's going to take a little while to open up. And the recommendation on the website is just to kind of brew this as unattentively as you like. So just to put it in some hot water and let it go. And the classic grandpa style is when typically done with green teas, is where you use a glass or whatever container, and you just keep topping it up with the leaves in the container. So it's a slightly lazier, I guess you could say, way of brewing the tea. Right. It's got that kind of I kind of think about it as almost like a sweet chalkiness. I want to say slate, but I don't think slate is the right word to use. It's a kind of, it's almost like there's minerals in the aroma, which doesn't really happen. You can't smell minerals. Maybe you can. Maybe the minerals do come into the vapour. Now that I think about it, yeah, that's a fair enough thing to say, I'd say. So we're just going through the motions here. Standard procedure. Just letting it open up. That's probably good. Right. So, I mean, as I said in the last video, the thing with shu is that it takes a while, you know. It's not something that, it's not like a green or white tea, which is done in a few infusions. The beauty of the shu is that it's a kind of unravelling, it's an unfolding of the flavour of the leaves, there's kind of like an evolution through the tasting. As you can see, we're still fairly ball form. Let's see. I might just even leave that lid on just to kind of help it keep the temperature up. So let's see where we are with this first infusion. So it's so early that it doesn't even have many of the characteristics of a shu, really. Yeah, not really getting that much from this so far, but it's a nice clean taste, I have to say. I don't think this tea's been aged very much. It was pressed in 2017. Don't have too many details of the tea. As I become more acquainted with different tea vendors, you start to notice differences, and White2Tea doesn't seem to be that interested in providing you with that much information about the tea. They say that it has a Munghai characteristics, so presumably it's from Munghai, but that's as much as we know. unless, of course, I'm totally missing a trick here and there's loads of information on this tea. White2Tea seems to be much more interested in the kind of branding and the kind of consumer sales side of tea. I might discard this actually because I don't think it's even, I wouldn't even call that an infusion really. See if I can actually use my teaware. That looks better. We've got a much darker colour on this one. If you can see in there. A little bit cloudy. There we are. Woohoo! Got a nice sheen on the top. It's got an interesting, so this sounds ridiculous, it's got an interesting shape. A lot of shu just goes straight down. It's very oily and slick, and it kind of just dances around the mouth, and it's nice and smooth. This, on the other hand, has a bit of texture. It kind of, for some reason, just when it goes into my mouth, it kind of just stops there, and it kind of almost wants to stay there. There's kind of almost a cherryness to it. Cherry, and then there's not really a woodiness to it, really. A quite subtle muddiness, I would say. But still very, very clean on the taste. Wow, this smells like bread. Wow, what the hell? It smells exactly like bread. Like a nice, dark, rich sourdough loaf, you know. That's how bizarre. I've been baking with it recently, and that actually just smells like dough. It's quite yeasty, floury, but also very warm, and it's almost like a baked smell. God, that's fascinating. And now that I sort of cross-reference the wet leaf to the flavour profile, I can see why it's so clean. It doesn't have any of the real woody or leafy notes. It's got this cherryness. It's got this kind of tang. So far, very clean. Let's go. So I've been drinking a lot more pu'er recently. I've been trying to put in my, shu pu'er particularly. I've been trying to put in my miles for tasting shu, and I've definitely got much more of a taste for it now. Before I was very much into raw pu'er, and now I almost find that raw pu'er is a little bit too much. It's a little bit too strong. And feisty, so shu pu'er has really taken my interest right now, especially because it's becoming more wintry, more cold. Shu is just is the perfect tea for that sort of weather. There's a new element in there. Not sure how to sum it up. The bakedness has slightly, is now in competition. But that still does smell like dough. What on earth? I wish I could drink that smell. You know when you eat, like you like the smell but you don't like the taste, or you like the taste but don't like the smell. It's or I should say the aroma. That sounds much better. So now that the tea is opening up a bit more, getting more of that kind of slickness, more of that oiliness, more of that that ability to kind of coat the mouth, which is nice. Right, I've got to get this next one going. I've already lost count. I think this is the fourth. I think. It's very easy to lose count. I don't know if anyone actually counts their tea infusions. I guess if you're being really serious about it. And also, I used to time the infusions, but then I decided that I wanted my tea ceremony, my tea kind of tasting and tea experience just to be intuitive. I wanted just to know just how long to brew things without needing to use a timer. I'm just doing it by trial and error, and seeing what happens, and just kind of getting a sense for it. Because like when you do something a lot, you just get a sense for how long things take, and you don't even have to think about it. You just know. You can kind of sense it coming. So if the tea's been brewing for a little bit, just pour it out. Doesn't have to be an exact science. And that liquor actually is an amazing dark brown. It's like tar. I have to say, it still does have that shape in that mouth. In my mouth. When I drink it, it opens up. It's not kind of evading the tongue or anything. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's there. And just on those last few sips, I was actually getting a little bit of what would you call that? I guess just a bitterness, or a kind of. You sometimes get those notes which just feel a bit more empty. It's almost like it's a lack of taste, and with that comes a bit of bitterness. Right, so I think this is the fourth. So that ball has, in fact I'll show you first. The ball has mostly disintegrated, but there's still obviously, there will be, that kind of core will still be there, but that'll open up as we go. Not as exciting as the previous, actually. I was expecting more from this one. I find tea tasting to be just a very fascinating thing, because it's so hard to pin down. It's hard to describe what you're experiencing, and it's totally subjective. You kind of have no idea what's actually going on for someone else. I'm not sure how to sum up that infusion, but I'm starting to feel the effects of the tea. I'm starting to get a little bit tea high or tea drunk, I think. And it's a very calming tea. It feels like. Perhaps more leafiness in that infusion, actually. I would have thought the fourth would have been an interesting infusion, but it didn't seem to be that way. And I think sometimes I can expect a bit too much from a shoe, because I really do think that my enjoyment of shoe, and I think enjoyment of shoe in general, comes from the layering, from the multiple infusions, from the whole experience, from the time spent. Each individual sip may not be phenomenal, but I think the culmination of all of those things is what makes the kind of shoe experience. Very dark again, goodness me. Very dark. Da, da, da. Again, yeah. Reflecting the light. It's like a black mirror. The tea has started to evade me. This smells much wetter now. Much more earthy. Quite autumnal in its aroma. Smell makes it sound bad. Has become very smooth. Smooth and thick. Interesting. I'm not sure where this leaves me with this tea. This is probably the fifth infusion. I think I'll give it a few more infusions and then see where we are. So I'm on the 7th, going on 8th, I think, infusion here. Got a very drying effect on the mouth at the moment. Which creates a very interesting experience when you're drinking the tea and your mouth is drying and you have this liquid going around. So you kind of have all these different kind of bodily kind of reactions going on in the mouth. It's very interesting how generally I haven't experienced the same sort of reactions that your mouth gets, that you get with tea. I haven't really experienced that with other food and drink. And I guess wines to an extent can have a drying or that sort of effect. But for me, it's quite a unique thing for tea to have such a composition that your mouth actually reacts to the liquid, to the compounds. I find that quite fascinating. It's not something that you can appreciate that often. So that was brewing for a long time, I think. I'm not really sure. And for me, the flavour at this point feels a little bit hollow. I was quite intrigued for the first few infusions, but I think this is now the 8th. Much more hollow. Although, funny enough, I think there is almost some yeastiness coming through. But having said that, it's coating the mouth, it's drying the mouth, it's definitely having a calming effect. So all is not lost with this tea. I do quite like the idea of having tea compressed into a ball. Makes it very convenient. No, I weigh my teas personally to get the right amount, but there's no weighing involved, obviously. So there's an appeal there. I have to say, I like the name of this tea. Like, it's a very superficial thing to comment on, but I like the idea that it's this grandpa's tea. In my mind, that conjures up the kind of contrast between an elderly kind of mysterious taste palette, you know, where you might see your grandparents or older people drinking and eating certain things which you just don't like at all, or you find very peculiar or different, or too strong, or you know, whatever else. So in my mind, it conjures up that kind of contrast between a more, I guess, a more and less refined or aged palate, let's say. And I suppose as you get older, your taste buds do die off. So there we go. I think it's probably a good time to wrap up this tasting. I feel like I've said most of what I can say about this tea. An enjoyable tea, I would say. Interesting aroma on the wet leaf. Intriguing profile on the first few infusions. God, very drying now, very drying. My tongue and my cheeks are just, I can kind of feel them. They're not puckering, I wouldn't say. They're really just dry, which is interesting. Almost, yeah, I'd say the yeastiness, the baked yeast kind of, that was firstly in the aroma, almost seems to be coming out now. Interesting. But for me, the profile at this point is a little bit hollow. So, that was Grandpa's Balls. Yes, I was drinking Grandpa's Balls from White2Tea. There we go. Have a good one.